Thank you, Brandon, for your insightful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now continue with safety, but then with another angle, and that is the return on investment of a driver safety program. Driver safety training is not just a one-shot, it is a continuous process. Someone who knows all about that is Estrella Bonales, and she is the LATAM Customer Success and Business Development Leader at eDriving. Estrella, welcome to the conference.
Hello all, thank you for joining today's Fleet LATAM virtual conference, heading towards a sustainable and safe fleet. My name is Estrella Bonales. I'm Customer Success Manager for Mexico and Latin America at eDriving. And I am very happy to be here to participate with the subject evaluating the ROI of a driver safety program. Here's what we'll discuss today. A brief introduction about eDriving, the road safety situation, why manage driver safety, measuring risk and the cost of collisions, potential ROI of a driver safety program, what does a driver safety program look like, how much does it cost to implement, and a few top tips. Before I begin, for those of you unfamiliar with eDriving, I'll just give a brief introduction to our company. We are driver risk management gurus, founded 25 years ago. We now have a global presence and we are part of the Solera Group. We support more than 1.2 million drivers with 2.2 billion miles driven using our driver risk management app, Mentor, not only by analyzing after an incident occurs, but steering towards correct behaviors to avoid them happening. We serve companies and drivers in 125 countries in 45 languages, and we help manage risks for those using cars, vans, trucks, and two-wheelers. As you can see on screen, our clients include some of the biggest names in pharmaceuticals, healthcare, and food and beverage, to name a few. And we also work with global names in many other sectors, including our insurance partners. So let's talk about driver safety and the need for a driver safety program in the first place. First, road safety is moving in the wrong direction. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in the United States, 94% of crashes are caused by human error. In other statistics, 1.3 million die every year as a result of traffic crashes. There are 19.2 road deaths per 100,000 people in Latin America and the Caribbean, twice the average in high-income countries. The average cost to an employer of a non-fatal injury crash involving distraction is around $72,000 US dollars. 66% of unsafe drivers assessed by on-road evaluation self-rate as good drivers. 52% of normal driving has distraction present, and 70% of commercial fleet collisions involve distracted drivers. I am sure anyone involved in managing employee safety is already aware of the risks associated with driving, and it's really important to keep a focus on these risks as you introduce a driver risk management program or look to expand your existing program. It's also worth mentioning that costs are getting higher. This includes vehicle maintenance costs and fuel costs, and as well, companies are facing challenges with driver recruitment and retention. Let's look at what's actually required of companies in terms of managing driver safety. At the company level, it's not just a moral obligation to manage driver safety, it's a legal one too. An employer has a duty of responsibility to ensure the safety and health of workers in every aspect related to their work. The hierarchy of controls are elimination, avoid car transport for travel to meetings, substitution, use vehicles with advanced safety solutions instead of vehicles with poor safety solutions, engineering controls, choose vehicles with technical or physical safety barriers, for example, airbags. Administrative controls, assess and train the workers and drivers to drive safely and to keep to safe driving and resting times. An important note is that under occupational safety and health law, the vehicle is part of the workplace. This helps us to understand why we need a program in the first place and how it can help deliver on the moral and legal obligation before we even look at any other benefits. When thinking about a driver risk management program and its potential return on investment, a useful starting point is to measure what doing nothing to prevent collision costs. In other words, what do collision cost your organization? Collisions bring with them all kinds of associated costs. And on the screen, you can see just some of the potential costs, not all of them financial. Crashes are not just bent metal. They can have a knock-off effect in terms of costs, and in more serious cases can involve injuries and even loss of life. Other potential costs include higher insurance premiums, vehicle downtime, employee downtime, administration time and costs, legal fees, medical expenses, recruitment costs of temporary workers, reduced vehicle values, fines, and even brand erosion or negative customer relations. We'll talk about some of this further when we look at it from other angle and consider the benefits of a program. Once the cost of doing nothing are understood, you can set targets for what you want your program to achieve. Without having a program in place to begin with, it's difficult to determine the cause of your incidents. But once you have a program, you can work towards identifying the main contributors to collisions and the type of collisions that are costing your company the most and causing the most disruption. Not all collisions are equal. For most companies, the most common types of collision are often slow speed incidents, frequently involving backing up or employees being rear-ended. While fortunately not the most serious, they cause damage, downtime, and indicate a lack of defensive driving knowledge on the driver's part. And smaller incidents and near misses should really be interpreted as warning signs that someone does need support before they get involved in a more serious collision. Once you identify the why, you can better target the remedial intervention. On the screen are some common performance measures to measure just how effective a driver safety program is. You might, for example, want to aim for a reduction in fatalities and injuries, a reduction in collisions per million miles, a reduction in events per a set number of miles, such as speeding events or distraction events, or an improvement in driver score, something many driver safety programs can include. You might also consider annual collision cost and claims frequency, or maybe any other measure that works for your company. Let's look at potential reductions. First, and most obviously, there is the potential reduction in collisions, incidents, injuries, and license violations, as well as potentially saving lives. This can help prevent life-changing injuries. And remember that even small incidents can have significant consequences and can be costly in terms of repairs and associated costs, some of which will be mentioned next. Productivity is affected when employees suffer injuries that prevent them from carrying out their normal duties. Similarly, recruiting temporary workers or permanent replacements for injured employees cost companies financially in recruitment, training, business interruption, and disruption. If one of your company vehicles is involved in an at-fault collision, you could find yourself the target of a lawsuit. Liability could grow sustainably if that employee is driving on a suspended driving license and negligent entrustment. Lawsuit could follow the business-ending outcomes for small and medium business. Something that's often overlooked is how much of an effect dangerous driving, such as speeding, has on fuel consumption. At 75 miles per hour or 120 kilometers per hour, a vehicle uses around 20% more fuel than it would at around 95 kilometers per hour or 60 miles per hour. Other behaviors, including harsh acceleration and cornering, also influence fuel consumption. So a driver behavior program that guides safer behaviors can also help to reduce fuel bills. Aggressive driving has a negative impact on vehicles and employees, as well as the environment. For example, harsh braking is likely to wear brakes and pads sooner, resulting in parts needing to be replaced more frequently. Vehicles that are looked after are much more likely to retain value. And when we look at insurance, organizations that can demonstrate the existence of a safety culture and are set up to learn from collisions are far more likely to be viewed favorably by insurers. Many insurance companies support the creation of such programs with their clients in order to provide or work towards providing the most competitive insurance rates for their customers. So let's talk about improvements. The focus on sustainability has never been greater, and companies with fleets are more conscious of the effects of transportation on the environment. By its very nature, a driver risk management program encourages safer defensive driving behaviors, which result in fewer harmful emissions. Something else to think about is the way your branded vehicles are seen by others on the road. Drivers displaying behaviors such as speeding, overtaking, and other risky maneuvers don't represent your company well. Safe, courteous drivers who arrive for jobs, appointments, or deliveries in vehicles that are well maintained and not damaged give a better impression to customers than those turning up in damaged vehicles with scratches in the paintwork and bald tires. Research demonstrates that engaged workers contribute to increased revenue, and that business with engaged workers have fewer workplace incidents than companies with poor employee engagement. Encouraging a company-wide culture of safety within your driver risk management program helps to keep safety top of mind and reassures employees and their families that their health and happiness matter to your company. A driver safety program with strong safety culture can also help you to address corporate and social responsibilities, helps you adhere to regulations and legal requirements, and can even put you at a competitive advantage over other companies. For example, when entering a tender process of business or bidding for a contract in which safety is an important consideration. There are also associated marketing opportunities that can come with having a safety program in place, such as issuing press releases and case studies outlining your success. And there's even potential for entering a winning industry awards for sales fleets. So what does a driver safety program look like? Well, programs can differ greatly, but our experience at eDriving has shown us that to be effective, a program needs to be comprehensive and not only incorporate single elements such as driving license checking or driver training. These elements alone will do little to change driving behavior for the better and to sustain safer driving behaviors. This is also a good place to mention the 80-20 rule. On average, 20% of your drivers represent a much greater risk on the road than the majority. These 20% will account for 80% of your incidents, claims, costs, and could even negatively impact your reputation and business continuity. Therefore, a catch-all driver safety program that provides the same training to all drivers is highly unlikely to deliver the same return on investment as a comprehensive driver risk management program that identifies the safest drivers for reward and recognition, and also identifies those drivers most in need of support, setting out to improve the behaviors and attitudes of these drivers. Remember the statistic about 94% of crashes being attributable to human error? Additional research has also shown that aggressive drivers tend to be involved in more traffic collisions. And above a certain minimum level of competence at vehicle handling and road reading, drivers with inappropriate attitudes are more likely to crash. Therefore, identifying risk levels in your organization and guiding high-risk drivers to safer on-road behaviors is crucial to seeing return on investment from your program. A great program is one that delivered within the context of a company-wide safety culture or a crash-free culture, as we like to call it at eDriving. That's a culture that does not accept collision as an inevitable part of driving for work purposes. How to achieve such a culture? It takes time and effort, and it involves everything from securing leadership commitment to ongoing communication with managers and drivers. everything from policies, pledges, and procedures to informal engagement. A great driver safety program will actually support the establishment of this type of safety culture, and a good fleet supplier will guide you through the creation of a solid company-wide safety culture. In terms of the elements of a driver safety program, at eDriving, we encourage the identification of driving behaviors so that both drivers and managers understand the collision risk of each individual driver. How can you change anything if you don't measure it to start with? Once driving behaviors have been identified, it's crucial to act on them. So if risky behaviors are identified, what's done to remedy that? Does the program include e-learning that's targeted at specific behavior? Does it include gamification and reward opportunities to encourage continuous improvement? Driver safety programs can have all different elements and features that matter to the company. For example, in the case of eDriving's program, we include driver event reporting so that collisions can be reported directly in the app and sent to accident fleet management companies to speed up claims processing. We include vehicle inspections so managers know drivers are checking for faults before and after trips. We also include an eco-driving score so drivers and managers can see how eco-friendly their driving is. We can include manager coaching as well, as we feel the best person to have both informal and formal coaching conversations with the drivers is the manager. And our latest feature is emergency response services. So if a driver is involved in a collision, this triggers automatic emergency response. And this same support can be accessed if the driver feels unwell or unsafe. These examples show how programs can be wide-ranging and can be tailored depending on the company's needs. But the main emphasis is to ensure that the program is comprehensive and delivered within a crash-free culture. Of course, there are costs associated with introducing a program beyond the cost of the program itself. So for example, how much time is needed to introduce a program? Whose schedule will this come out of? And how much will it take them away from their other commitments? How much time will it require of senior leadership? Will colleagues need to help cover the commitments of those heavily invested in the program? Will it require new people to be recruited? Will the program require onboarding time for drivers? And will this take them away from their productive work? Will managers need to undergo training to understand the program? And how much effort will be required on an ongoing basis to maintain the program? These are all things to think about before implementing a program. However, by addressing these concerns at the outset and ensuring everyone is aware of the efforts required and the potential return of investment from putting in these efforts, you are less likely to face any issues and can start looking forward to the return on investment sooner. As I outlined at the beginning, it's a legal and moral obligation to manage driver risk, and collision cost companies a lot, not just financially, but in the various associated costs that we discussed at the beginning. However, return on investment can be significant, as well as the biggest benefit of potentially saving lives and reducing injuries. There are many other benefits that are not always recognized, and these benefit the business, its employees, and its customers. So before I finish, here are some top tips. Understand the big picture when it comes to driver safety. Understand your company obligations in terms of driver safety. Calculate what collisions cost your organization, not just financially, but taking into account costs such as lost work days and administration expenses. Analyze the potential benefits of a program and consider how these would affect all areas of the business. Set targets for what you want to achieve and how you'll measure return on investment. Think carefully about the elements of a driver safety program that would matter most to your company and compare suppliers to find out which ones meet your needs. Plan ahead in terms of costs time and effort, so you have a greater understanding of when you'll start to see the return on investment. Thank you very much for listening. Safe driving.